Welcome into the Big Little Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Previty. That's Andrew Greig. LeBron James said, "Keep my son's name out of your mouth" to Stephen A. Smith. And is Donovan Mitchell better than Jason Tatum if he wins a ring and a Finals MVP? We talk about all of that and NFL free agency. That's where we're going to start. Andrew, biggest releases.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of them. Joey Bosa, Aaron Rodgers, obviously you kind of think that he was already, it was kind of a set in stone that he was going to leave the Jets, but just a lot of them. I'll start with Joey Bosa. Obviously, one of the Chargers, like all-time players. I don't know that anyone's going to debate that. He's been with them for such an extended period of time, has made multiple Pro Bowls, has been an all-pro player at some point. Obviously, injuries kind of derailed his career towards the back end of it, but one of a line of great Chargers and just a great overall player. There's a lot of rumors surrounding him. Is he going to go to join his brother in San Francisco? Where is he going to go? I think that'd probably be the best destination for him, kind of just team up with his brother for the late stages of his career. I don't really see him going anywhere else. And I don't know how many people need a defensive end like Joey Bosa at this point, and like how many teams want to spend a lot of money on a Joey Bosa. I think he'd kind of like opt into like a veteran minimum type of deal if he were to go anywhere. But I just don't know how many teams really need a Joey Bosa. So his situation is really interesting to me, just because like there's the prospect of him joining up with his brother, but a couple of teams are probably on the market for him as well. So definitely
the 49ers. I like you throwing out the Niners. I've seen that. Obviously, they're looking for somebody who's probably a little bit more healthier.
Mm-hmm.
So not somebody who could just sit on their IR, but I definitely could see him potentially going to the Niners. I mean, I'm sure he wants to win more games. I think it's interesting what the Chargers are doing right now. They're kind of salary cap strapped on their defense. I think they want to pay Mac, or they're just trying to figure out who exactly they want to pay. They had a great year last year. I believe they were the number one scoring defense in the NFL last season.
Yep.
So they can kind of afford to retool, but I don't think they want to lose him. I think he could go to the Niners. I think that would be a good spot.
Yeah, I there's no real debate there. I don't see how
They're
many
the betting favorites, I believe.
Yeah, I don't really see how many other teams are going to be interested in his market and how many teams really need him. But it'll be interesting. I think the Niners are definitely the favorite to land him, and then there's a couple other teams that are like maybe a little bit a ways away. But Joey Bosa, really good player, really good career. Just like never stayed healthy for an extended period of time, which is super unfortunate. But injuries are part of the game.
Yeah. So let's move to another free agent, Davante Adams. Obviously was traded midseason to the Jets. They were trying to make the playoffs at that point, but it was probably just way too far gone. He came on later in the season. He'll be 33 years old in December. What are we thinking about his movement?
Yeah, I don't
think he goes wherever Rodgers goes. I think that's
I do.
really
yeah. I think that they're like genuinely just good friends and want to like maybe finish out their careers together. Obviously, you had when Aaron Rodgers was first finishing out his time at Green Bay, they kind of like walked off the field. Well, actually, that is like just not accurate. That was completely different receiver. But who am I thinking of that like walked off the field with Aaron Rodgers for like the last time in Green Bay when they lost to the Lions?
Wilson?
Like in Green Bay.
Oh, in Green Bay. Oh, Jude, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I just remember they lost the Lions and like their playoff hopes were dashed, and like he just like walked off the field with like one of his old receivers. It's like somebody he played with for like a really long period of time, but that's besides the point. I think Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers go the same place personally. Maybe the Raiders. There's a couple of teams like within like those top 6 draft picks that all need a quarterback. Could add like adding an extra receiver definitely wouldn't hurt them. Maybe the Giants could be in that market. I think the Raiders are definitely like I was just saying, are one of the teams to definitely look out for both Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers. It'd be really funny if he like went back to the Raiders if like after getting traded from them just last season. But there are homecomings. Dwight Howard did it for the Lakers, so I mean we'll see. I think Davante Adams is still like a really good receiver though, and on a team where he was the number 2 option behind Garrett Wilson, he had multiple games where he went over 100 yards. He's still a great player, just and with a quarterback who is kind of towards the tail end of his career and isn't playing as well as he could be. So Davante Adams, definitely an interesting situation. Whoever gets him, I think they get like a solid wide receiver too at this point in his career.
Yeah, I definitely think they're that any team that picks him up is going to get some good production. And depending on where they're at, they want to potentially bring their offense to the next level. I think a good landing spot is the Chargers, and that's why I don't 100% buy into Devontae Adams going wherever Aaron Rodgers goes. I think he could find a good spot, whether that's with the Chargers, maybe even, like you said, the Giants, maybe the Patriots. So one of those teams that are really looking to either shake up their offense or bring it to the next level. And I just don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be a New York Giant. Like, I don't know if that's actually going to happen or not.
To that end, I also think that Devontae Adams has a lot more buyers than Aaron Rodgers does at this point in his career. So he has a lot of different options and where he can go. Anyone can really use an extra wide receiver. Not everyone needs a quarterback. So I can see where you're coming from that perspective. Definitely, Aaron Rodgers, like his market is probably those teams that are kind of rebuilding or don't have a quarterback, where Devontae Adams can kind of go wherever he wants. But it'd be cool to see them finish off their careers. I'm not a big fan of Aaron Rodgers, but like they've always been a good story from their such a long history in playing in Green Bay and then meeting back up with the Jets.
So practically 2 hours, I believe, after the news broke that Tyler Lockett was going to be released, DK Metcalf proceeded to ask for a trade. So now the Seattle Seahawks are essentially met with the decision to retool, get younger, or to continue their push behind Geno Smith, or their win now plan over the next couple of years. Initial thoughts on that? I mean, I think DK Metcalf is probably a second or a third out there on the trade market.
If I'm the Seattle Seahawks, I trade away Geno Smith to a team that needs a quarterback. Completely say, F it, the season's going to go down the drain. Let Jackson Smith and Jigba be one of your pieces that you want to hold on for a long period of time. Like, not rebuild around him, because who's rebuilding around a wide receiver? But if I'm the Seahawks, their ceiling, they've already met it with Geno Smith. I think that the playoffs, being a wild card team, is the ceiling for that team. Obviously, they were competitive in the NFC West last year, but that team isn't winning a championship, and I think that front office knows it. So maybe go ahead, tank this year, and then look for one of the better draft picks in the next coming drafts, and kind of just retool that whole organization. I don't think that there's any higher that they're getting with them. I don't think that anyone's out there claiming that Geno Smith is going to win them a championship.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think anybody is thinking that Geno Smith is at all the answer at quarterback either. I think they're just trying to kind of find a bridge to the next guy. And Geno Smith earned that contract that he's at right now. But I did go through the list of the top 10 highest paid players in the NFL. They were all quarterbacks. It makes sense. That's the market. And Geno Smith was on that list. He had no business being on that list. He played well last season, but just had too many turnovers as well. So I don't really want to crap on Geno Smith too much. But yeah, this team isn't going anywhere. And if you release Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf asks to be traded and you move him in the offseason, that's two of your biggest weapons for a quarterback that you want to be better. Just doesn't make sense, right? It works against each other. You got to move on. You have to find out your direction as a franchise.
And when you look at Geno Smith, it's kind of just like, where do you really rank him in this little? Obviously, he's one of the top 10 biggest cap hits, but overall as a quarterback, where are you putting him? Maybe in the top 12, top 13, and by top 12, top 13, literally like in the bottom, like 12 or 30, like would be like the end of that list. So there's just so many other guys that and he had a resurgence in his career, but you can only go so far with Geno Smith, unfortunately. So I just don't think that the Seahawks have any business doing another year of him. I think that this past year was like the final, oh, let's try to run it back with Geno Smith. And now that DK Metcalf's probably gone and Tyler Lockett's gone, they have no business trying to rebuild around Geno.